Good morning, everybody. What a lovely day we have today. Or maybe not. I'm guessing not everyone is basking in sunshine, because their Identity 5 matches have been turned into absolute train wrecks. Whether it's the invisible red ping monster striking again, or that brain-dead Faro lady who decided to steal your perfectly primed cipher and reset it to 0, it's chaos out there. But fear not, my friends. That's exactly why we have this community post for ranting. And while we're at it, how about we give this venting corner a proper name? Let's call it the IDV Radio, where you can voice whatever opinions you have, or whatever wild thoughts you want to throw out there. Since this is the maiden voyage of IDV Radio, let's kick things off by diving into your rants. I recently posted about venting your rant, and now, in this grand debut, we'll start the journey with your very own grievances. So, buckle up, because it's time to dive in and see what the IDV community has been losing their minds over. Let's dive into this rant with a user named Trash Artist. They've got some thoughts on two very special topics, the Faro lady and the mechanic. But before we get into that, let's talk about mythical creatures. You know, those beings that exist somewhere between your imagination and your aunt's true story about her encounter with Bigfoot. We're talking dragons, unicorns, the Loch Ness Monster, creatures that only show up in folklore or when someone's had one too many. Their existence, about as questionable as a discount sushi buffet. However, 2024 brings us a new contender in the mythical creature category, the legendary Faro lady. This one's even trickier than the others because, despite countless efforts to prove she's real, she remains as elusive as ever. The legendary Faro lady is not your run-of-the-mill Faro lady. Not at all, bro. She doesn't steal away your precious cipher progress, especially when you're that mercenary who's decoded up to 90%, thinking, hey, maybe I'll be the hero for once, and you leave your machine to make a rescue that's already doomed. The legendary Faro lady would never mess with that. She's got class. Unlike the regular Faro lady, who gleefully leaves you with 14% progress when you were just about to hit the jackpot at 92%. And speaking of the Faro lady, there's a theory floating around that she has the brain size of a dolphin, if the dolphin had just finished a night out at the bar. Don't get it twisted though, dolphins are smart. I should know, I've written articles about them. And no, I didn't interview the dolphins themselves. Instead, I interviewed Elizabeth. When I asked if she'd like to trade places with me and interview the dolphins, her response was, well, let's just say she responded with a word that starts with F and ends with U. Next up, we've got some hot takes on the mechanic. This user claims that mechanic players shouldn't even bother bringing a full kite build since, well, they can't kite to save their lives anyway. Now, let's not paint with too broad a brush here. Some mechanics can kite. Not me, of course, but I've heard they exist somewhere out there. Honestly, I get why some mechanics might go for a kite build. They're probably just terrified of being chased first, knowing that decoders are the main course on every hunter's menu. I mean, if you're going to be the first one hunted down, you might as well try to stretch that kite from a solid 10 seconds to, oh, maybe 11? Every second counts, right? But I can see where this rant is coming from. Some mechanic players seem a little too eager to prove they can kite, thinking their dolls are the ultimate survival tool that is better than Vera's euphoria. Still, a mechanic's main job is to decode, so maybe they should focus on a decode build instead of trying to play cat and mouse with the hunter. If the hunter chases someone else first, great! Decode like there's no tomorrow. If the hunter comes after you, well, good luck and have fun! Our next rant comes from Shioni, who's had it with Dr. Mains trying to steal their rescue. As someone who often often plays doctor in duo hunters, I have to admit, I might just be the guilty party here. I'm not entirely sure why some doctor mains get so rescue happy. Maybe it's because we know we can take a hit, patch ourselves up, and then play the hero again? At least, that's the logic running through my head whenever I swoop in for a rescue. But honestly, if there's a designated rescuer around, I'm more than happy to hand over the reins and just stand by to heal them after they've done the heavy lifting. After all, my job is to heal, not to go full Rambo. I mean, let's be real, I'm a doctor, not an action hero. Only Rambo can storm a hunter's lair, pull off a rescue, and look cool doing it. Such a Chad, right? This whole situation actually reminds me of that one time I saw a doctor attempting a detention rescue without Tide Turner, and it was a basement rescue no less. That day, I lost my precious Helena badge because of that kamikaze doctor pulling off the most useless rescue in the history of IDV. So, a big thank you to all the doctor mains out there for making our lives just a little more miserable. Really, thanks a lot. This next rant is about Helena, and I have to say, as a Helena main myself, it really hit home. It brought back some traumatic memories, but in a way that had me laughing out loud. Seriously, it was a good chuckle. Let me give you my perspective as a former A-badge Helena. This user claimed that Helena mains just run around the map, desperately trying to avoid the hunter. Well, what else are we supposed to do? Vault a window or pallet? Helena's slower than molasses. Even Elizabeth could probably hop through a window faster than she can. And let's not even talk about high-tier matches. Playing Helena as a griffin and above is like offering the hunter a free bacon sandwich. Honestly, it feels like Helena isn't just a character. She's a difficulty level all on her own, somewhere above hard and bordering on impossible. Can barely kite for 30 seconds? Hell, if I manage to last 5 seconds against a Geisha, I'm ready to throw myself a party inviting Ariana Grande to come join. And as for refusing to rescue, why would we even attempt it? We're better off decoding and trying to rush those ciphers rather than getting terror-shocked and then blamed by everyone for a failed rescue attempt. We're decoders, not martyrs. Oh, and that bit about 90% of the time, other players finishing their ciphers way before Helena does? Bro, you guys told us to rescue, so we did, leaving our cipher progress behind. And now you're complaining about our slow decoding? Make up your mind! But honestly, I can't argue with this user. Getting matched with a Helena, which used to be me, practically guarantees you'll be reaching for some aspirin by the end of the match. It's probably why my survivor win rate never cracked 47%. So, thank you the Skylion. Your rant really brings back memories. The traumatic memories, to be precise. Nafi's had a lot to say about the Geisha, especially when she's rocking that Manchurian crane skin. According to Nafis, the moment this Geisha shows up, it's like everyone on his team collectively decides to lose their minds. The coordinator shoots walls instead of the hunter. The enchantress forgets how to play and resets the hunter's attack recovery. And Helena? Well, she's out there attempting the world's worst parkour. And, of course, it all ends in a big fat L for Nafis. But, you know what? That skin is cursed, and I think I've cracked the code on why. Let me explain. The Manchurian crane skin is based on a real bird, the red-crowned crane, which in some parts of Asia is a symbol of luck, longevity, and fidelity. That's right. This Geisha isn't just flexing a cool skin. She's walking around with maxed out luck stats and a blessing of longevity that makes every match against her feel doomed from the start. I wouldn't be surprised if the Geisha actually received some sort of mystical bird blessing when this skin dropped. That would explain why everyone suddenly turns brain dead and pulls off the most ridiculous stunts in IDV history whenever she's around. Eurydice went on a full-blown rant about composer mains, claiming they've turned IDV from a horror game into some kind of rhythm game. According to her, these composer mains are so obsessed with hitting those perfect combos that they completely forget there's a hunter lurking around. And honestly, I couldn't agree more. Composer mains make me facepalm on the regular. They're so locked into their little rhythm minigame that even if Fiona herself called them for a long portal, they just keep tapping away, trying to nail that perfect combo. It's like they've forgotten this is supposed to be a horror game, not Guitar Hero. And what's the result? Every Dream Witch main out there is probably salivating at the thought of terror-shocking a composer who's too busy playing Dance Dance Revolution in their head. But I'm torn between being mad and feeling sorry for these composer mains. Like, be honest. How many of you picked him up because of his unique skills? I bet most of you are just here because he's got those good looks and you happen to love rhythm games. Few players actually know how to play him well, and it shows. So, it's no surprise when you see a composer stumbling around like they're lost. Or worse, getting terror-shocked early in the game by a Dream Witch, despite all the quick chat warnings. Mira shared her love-hate relationship with rank matches. If you've seen my previous video about touching some grass, not eating it by the way, you'd understand this all too well. Rank matches in any game, and I mean any game, not just IDV, are designed to hook you in, even when every fiber of your being is screaming to stop. How does that work? Well, according to some study from the University of California, it's all about that sweet, sweet dopamine hit you get when you win. It's like your brain is holding a carrot on a stick saying, "Come on, just one more game! You can't end on a loss!" So, every time you lose, your brain convinces you to try again. And before you know it, you've burned through hours, energy, and probably all your good vibes, chasing that one elusive win that, let's be real, doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. It's all in our minds, you know? Just like those claw machines in the arcade. Your brain keeps nudging you. Just one more try, and you'll snag that plushie. And then, after you finally win, or worse, after you win nothing, you're left wondering why you just spent half your day on a game where the real winner is the arcade owner. Same goes for rank matches. You're just feeding the system, while you're the one left questioning your life choices. This next rant comes from a user who goes by someone, and they've got a bone to pick with that one Eli main who decided it was nap time at the open gate, even when someone else is getting chased by a geisha near the dungeon. The match ended in a loss, complete with that famous F word. You know the one. Seriously, folks, if the gate is open and your teammates are kiting near the dungeon, just leave. What are you waiting for, anyway? A paycheck? Bro, do you even think standing at the open gate a paying gig? Who the heck are you? An employee on a nightclub? Hell no! Sticking around the gate is only cool if you're actually planning to help out the poor soul being chased. If you're just there to bust a move or catch some naps, maybe consider taking that energy to the nearest nightclub. At least there, dancing until you sleep is part of the plan. Our next rant comes from a user named Someone Here. Now, I'm seriously confused. Who names themselves Someone? How are we even supposed to mention you? Like, hey, someone here just threw the game, and then everyone turns to look at me, wondering why I'm the only one standing there. Or, yo, someone stole my money, and someone else asks, which someone are you talking about? I'd be like, the someone, but not someone here. It's just someone. How much more confusing can this get? Anyway, this user ranted about the lag, which probably caused by the red ping, messing with their gameplay as a wildling main. Well, NetEase is apparently colorblind. They've never seen the color green. Their favorites are red and yellow, while green's just a myth to them. That's why when they designed Identity 5, they only knew how to add red and yellow to their ping system. Green? It's something they've heard of but never actually seen. So, if IDV ever adds another minigame, I'd suggest a guessing game with the ultimate question. What is green? Pushy here had a rant about someone who was right next to a chaired teammate, but decided to just stand by and watch instead of rescuing, thinking that someone else was doing the job. Brilliant move! Why don't we all just set up a picnic near the chair, bring some tea and biscuits, and enjoy the view while keeping an eye out for the hunter who of course isn't anywhere in sight? Yes! Rescuing is technically the rescuer's job, but come on, when you see a golden opportunity staring you in the face, just go for it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe you'll get a mercenary main grumbling in the post-match chat about you stealing the rescue? Seriously, a sensible mercenary wouldn't even attempt a rescue if they're miles away from the chair. By the time they get there, half the health bar is already gone, assuming they make it without getting caught. So, the nearest person to the chair should absolutely take the chance when it's there. Exceptions? Sure, like if the hunter is camping the chair, if there's a red ping, or if you're getting a call from your girlfriend. But waiting around for someone else to do the rescue when there's no hunter in sight? That's not an exception. That's just being lazy. Solo Kids has 2 admins. Ironic, considering the channel's name suggests solo. I mean, how solo can you be with 2 people running the show? Solo brought up an interesting point about how the rescuer on their team rarely brings Tide Turner. That reminds me of a special breed of mercenary who's so focused on decoding that they forget their primary role: rescuing. Picture this: a mercenary who hides at the start of the match. Then, when the coast is clear, they dive into decoding every machine in sight. They won't bother bringing Tide Turner because it's too much of a waste for this decoding-centric build. The best they might bring is Broken Window, which, let's face it, is basically a kiter's build. So, this mercenary is like the blockbuster of the team. Supposed to rescue, built to kite, but just out there decoding away. If you're ever feeling down about your performance, just remember there's always a mercenary out there who's doing an even worse job at fulfilling their role. It's comforting to know that some people are really out there making you look like a pro in comparison. And that's a wrap for the first broadcast of IDV Radio. Before I sign off, just a reminder, all this is just for laughs and not meant to hurt anyone's feelings. If you've got thoughts, comments, or just want to drop a line, feel free to do so. Thanks for tuning in to our maiden voyage. Silmina, signing off. Catch you next time, folks!